We are going to be talking about, any guesses?
Job.
Ty, you're supposed to let him say it wrong. And it is Job. I know when I was reading it and thinking about it, I said job in my head a gazillion times. And it's tough because we speak English. But we're going to be talking about Job. And I'm going to go ahead and get started. So if you haven't ever read of Job, or you haven't heard about him, it says, oh my, dude, I just skirted off of my thing. You're right, Brett, thanks. All right, I'm back. In the story of Job, it starts off by saying how great of a man Job was, and preface, he loses everything. I'm going to go ahead and get that out there before we get started, because you might be surprised, probably not, you'll see it coming. But Job 1:1, in the land of Uz, there lived a man whose name was Job. This man was blameless and upright. He feared God and shunned evil. He had 7 sons and 3 daughters, and he owned 7,000 sheep, 3,000 camels, 500 yoke of oxen. If anybody doesn't know, that's pair. And 500 donkeys. And he had a large number of servants, mainly those that took care of the animals that he had. And it says in Job 1:4 that he was the greatest man among all people of the East. His sons used to hold feasts in their homes on their birthdays, and they would invite their 3 sisters to eat and drink with them. When a period of feasting had run its course, Job would make arrangements for them to be purified. Early in the morning, he would sacrifice a burnt offering for each of them, thinking, perhaps my children have sinned and cursed God in their hearts. This was Job's regular custom. So if you guys couldn't tell, Job was a very blessed man, right? You'd say that it would be easy for Job to love God and be faithful to God because he's not faced any hardship in his life. But that brings me to our first key point, that riches cannot determine your faith. Like I said, you may be confused saying, Job is rich, how is this not determining his faith? But, like I said, wait and see. In Job 1:6, says, one day the angels came to present themselves before the Lord, and Satan also came with them. The Lord said to Satan, where have you come from? Satan answered the Lord, from roaming throughout the earth, going back and forth on it. Then the Lord said to Satan, have you considered my servant Job? There is no one on earth like him. He is blameless and upright, a man who fears God and shuns evil. So God is bragging about Job's faithfulness. If you cannot tell, he is proud of Job for how faithful he is and how great of a servant he is. But then Satan replied, does Job fear God for nothing? He's saying, if Job did not have all these blessings, would he still fear God? Would he still be faithful to God? And he also goes to say, have you not put a hedge around him and his household and everything he has? You have blessed the work of his hands so that his flocks and herds are spread throughout the land. But now stretch out your hand and strike everything he has, and he will surely curse you to your face. The Lord said to Satan, very well then, everything he has is in your power, but on the man himself do not lay a finger. Then Satan went out from the presence of the Lord. If you guys know Satan, he's going to do what he does. He goes and he takes everything from Job. If I read it here, he sent raiders to take all of his sheep. Let's see here. Sabian raiders, Satan sent. They stole 1,000 oxen and 500 donkeys and killed all his servants. Chaldean raiders, they stole 3,000 of his camels and killed all of his servants. All of his children were killed when their house collapsed on them, when Satan sent a tornado to take down their house. So Job went from having everything to nothing in a matter of one day.
Who do you want to send it to?
No, Siri. It just listen to me on all that. I hope you guys were too. But even though Satan has taken everything from Job, he remains faithful. Job's friends came to visit him, 3 of them, came to visit him, to help him out, to support him. Job sat there for 7 days before he spoke to any of his friends. They waited for 7 days, and when they began to speak to Job, they blamed Job, saying, Job, you must have sinned. You must have done something so bad for this to happen to you, for God to do this to you. But his friends were wrong. All three of them blamed him for 38 chapters. They blamed him for his sins. Tessa's laughing because she knows it's real. She sat there and listened to me read 38 chapters. Just kidding, she doesn't have the patience for that. But Job's friends tell him, hey, you must have done something terrible for God to do this to you. But they're wrong, because God does not put evil on you, and he does not do bad things. Our God is a good God. Right on, Ty. After their 34 chapter convo, Job goes to God. Now this is the only part where you see Job and his real feelings, and maybe you would think his faith wavers a little bit. Because he curses the day he's born. He goes to say, man, I wish I was never here. The Lord has done me wrong. I should not be deserving of this. I didn't do anything wrong for this. In which Job was innocent. He did not do anything. But where he's coming from and who he's blaming is wrong. The Lord spoke to Job out of the storm. He says, who is this that obscures my plans with words without knowledge? Brace yourself like a man. I will question you, and you shall answer me. Where were you when I laid the earth's foundation? Tell me if you understand. Who marked off its dimensions? Surely you know. Who stretched a measuring line across it? On what were its footings set? Or who laid its cornerstone? While the morning stars sang together and all the angels shouted for joy. So, because Job was questioning God and what God stood for and how God was blessing Job and how Job had received all these bad things that had happened to him, it made Job angry at God and it made Job question God. But what Job was not expecting is for God to question him back. God goes on for a long time. It's not 38 chapters. He goes on for a long time, basically explaining that the world is so complex. He questioned Job about so many things that Job could never understand the things that go on in the world. And he would never be able to understand if God even showed him why bad things were happening to him. And it picks back up in Job 42. Then Job replied to the Lord, I know that you can do all things. No purpose of yours can be thwarted. You asked, who is this that obscures my plans without knowledge? Surely I spoke of things I did not understand, things too wonderful for me to know. You said, listen now and I will speak. I will question you and you shall answer me. But my ears had heard of you, but now my eyes have seen you. Therefore I despise myself and repent in dust and ashes. Now what I didn't mention is that when God was questioning Job, God showed all of creation, all the things that he was questioning Job about to Job. So Job could see and maybe have a sliver of understanding of the complexity of the world. And also, through all this, Job stayed faithful. He remained in his relationship from God. He did not turn from him. He remained patient in hearing back from him. He did not run, blame God, and go speak blasphemy of God. And so, God went on to bless Job, supplying him everything he'd lost, and he even doubled his belongings. So he went from having 1,000 oxen and 500 sheep to double that. He even got 7 sons and 3 daughters back. Brings me to my last key point, which reminds me, I think I skipped the second, which is remain patient, waiting for God. Key point 3 is that God owes us nothing, but by his grace we are blessed. In Job chapter 41, when God is questioning Job, God asks, who has a claim against me that I must pay? Everything under heaven belongs to me. So, like I said, we are owed nothing by God, but it's only by his grace that we are blessed. So, don't get caught up in the things you don't have. Count your blessings. Remember that God is there and he is for you. And that brings me to about, do you fear God for nothing? Or is your love for God conditional? Are you going to love God when you have nothing? And are you going to love God when you have everything? I challenge you to love him all the time.